Cheerio, bonjour, hello. So, here's my Dalia video. A butter girl. What is a butter girl? Do you guys know? You may have heard boys say, oh, it's a butter girl. You had no idea. A butter girl is a girl who is fly, smoking hot from the neck down. She's hot, but her face. To me, Dalia Dippolito is a butter girl. Oh, it's chilly out here. I have to put my little hands on my warmer mat under my hiney. Cold in Washington, D.C. in May. Global warming, right? Okay. So I have only seen one photo of Dalia where I actually find her attractive. I don't get it. I think every report you see, they talk this beautiful woman, this attractive woman. I don't see it. And it has nothing to do with her character, because I do judge people that way. You get to know someone, and the more I can't have my hands under, it's hard to talk with your hands under your butt. So try to have a conversation with someone and put your hands under your butt. It just doesn't work. Your hands have to move. Even if you can't see that they're moving. Oh my goodness, my hands are moving. Not good looking. Character. You get to know someone for a while, and that person becomes more attractive because you know them. Nothing to do with any of this. I just, she's got these lips. There's one photo. When her mother testifies in court at the sentencing hearing, her mother looks pretty good. She's an attractive woman. But other than that, her mother kind of looks the same. And, people, you can't control how you look from the face up, I suppose. I will say that I believe Dalia is going to have that problem when she's 50, I'm 51, where her chin is gone. Where, I can't do it. Women just kind of go sideways. So, hey, you like my cow? Her name is Nina. Anyway, Dalia Muhammad was age 26 when this happened. This happened in 2009. And 13 years ago, I did that without doing new math, or whatever the fuck it's called. That new math is nuts. Mike Dippolito was age 40 when he met her. So, Dalia's born and raised in Florida, or moved to Florida, lived her whole life in Florida. Maybe not born there. Mike is from Philly. Philly, have you ever been to Philly? It can almost be scary. The Liberty Bell is there. I've seen the crack on it. But it can be a very, very scary place. And Mike Dippolito is the stereotype. So I'm going to pick the computer up because Rudy is at the door and he wants to come outside. And he's going to sit and scratch at the door the whole time. Tiki Barber was a wide receiver in the NFL. And they were doing pregame warm-ups and stuff, and the camera was on him. And some of the fans were harassing him. And finally he's like, hey, guys, that's nothing. I play in Philly. They can be hard in Philly. Okay. Mike's parents, unfortunately, were both addicts. He was, for the most part, raised by his grandmother. Hey, I'll tell you something. In a video or two ago, I had some trolls talk about the bags under my eyes. Look at those bags. They're getting really bad. They're like, Meredith, stop drinking. I'm a pot smoker. The booze. But, oh my goodness. Those are the Stolzer bags. It comes from the female side of my family. My grandmother was shaped like Humpty Dumpty. She had these little teeny legs and then this big body. Humpty Dumpty. Thank goodness I did not get Grandma's body. I got my mom's body. My dad used to tell my brother, if you marry a woman, if you're concerned about what your woman's going to look like, check out her mother, because that's what your woman's going to look like. So take a moment and think about yourself and your mom and some of your friends and their moms. That's actually really, really kind of true. Okay. So Mike Dippolito was drinking alcohol by age 8, and he says he was an alcoholic by age 10. Can you even imagine that? I cannot imagine that. The first time I got drunk I was 16, maybe 15 and a half or so. My parents went away, and they were supposed to be gone all day, and we'd gotten some vodka from somebody. And we drank vodka and orange juice. It was bad. My parents came home early. We were busted. My mom called Christy Mason's mom, was like, our daughters were drinking, come pick up your daughter. So my dad made me mow the grass, and I can remember I'm pushing the lawnmower down one time, and I just leaned over and vomited, and my dad just kind of laughed at me. Made me mow the grass, then my mom made me do a bunch of laundry. It was miserable. It was not a fun drunk at all. And then the next morning, my dad came downstairs at 5 a.m., time to rise and shine to a day of golden opportunity. And they fucked with me that whole next day as well. I deserved it. And you know what? I never really became a drinker. Maybe that had something to do with it. Anyway, so Mike didn't graduate high school until he ended up getting locked up. So he ran some sort of Ponzi scheme. They shamed people for money. Doesn't matter. He got caught. He owned it right away. He ended up getting sentenced to 2 years in prison and 28 years probation. Oh my goodness, that's pretty steep. 28 years of having to report to someone every month. 28 years of where you can only stay in 3 counties. 3, like the NFL. 28 years, that's a long freaking time. Oh my goodness. Okay, so anyway, so let's fast forward. 2009. Mike has been married 7 years. His wife goes away. And what does he do? He goes online and he hires himself a hooker. Now, if you want to be polite, you can say an escort. I will say, side note, I have no idea why prostitution is illegal. It's my body, my choice, right? Right? Isn't that going on right now? Actually, just down the street from my house, I have a Supreme Court justice, and they're protesting at his house. I understand that they say they have to keep prostitution illegal because of the trafficking of young girls. Okay, well, that does happen. I get it. It's a very small percentage. Watch a show about Las Vegas jail. The hookers come in and out. It is what it is. It's part of the business. I'm sorry, I don't really have a problem with it. If that's what a woman wants to do, then okay. So he hires Dalia. She comes over. They're instantly in love. Within 2 weeks, Mike files for divorce. He met a hooker. He paid her $300. And I'm going to say this, and oh my goodness, I'm really sorry. But that pussy was so warm and tight, which kind of surprises me, considering her industry she worked in, that he left his wife and married this chick. Oh my goodness. 1 month after his divorce was final, they got married. So, she doesn't work. Well, she's a real estate agent. She has a realtor license. Someone comment below. My hands are cold, so I got to tuck them in. I'm going to try to talk without my hands out right now. Someone comment below with a realtor license. I think it's a little bit of work, and I actually think it's quite a bit of money, isn't it? It's $5,000 or something to get your realtor license. So it's not all fun and games. She sold one house, and that was the house that she and Mike lived in. It's really hard, so you have to move your body a little more when you have your hands tucked in. Oh my goodness, it is cold here in Washington, D.C. She's running clients on the side. She's actually a madam. She's got a couple girls that work for her, so when people respond to ads saying that they're looking for some tail, and Dalia herself can't respond or isn't interested, she sends other girls. So she's a madam, Heidi Fleiss. Remember that. Again, I don't have any issue with it. If the people are all willing, then God bless you. Use your gifts. Immediately, Dalia has figured out that Mike's got some cash. Now Mike's not stupid rich. He's not stupid. Well, he's kind of stupid. He's a little gullible. But he's got cash. He bought it, the townhouse they live in Boynton Beach, which is an upper class town. $232,000. He paid cash for it. I will tell you, where I live, I don't think you can buy anything for $232,000. Condo, nothing. But from the outside, it looked like a cute little house. Apparently, they had a garage because he had a Porsche. What do you say, Porsche or Porsche? Porsche. Immediately, she is on a mission to get him locked up. He's on probation 28 years. So she figures she can get him locked up for 28 years, and then she's got his assets she can use. Okay? She's not taking into account that he's working and consistently making those assets. You know, he doesn't have this gigantic nest egg sitting at the Wells Fargo. But so she tries that. She tries it where she has her friends, the men she sleeps with. Here's how she gets men. Hey, baby, I miss you. Wanna fuck? She sends those texts. It works. Does that surprise anyone else? Of course not. Anyway, one time, the cops show up and they find 1.5 grams of cocaine stashed way deep back behind the spare tire. I mean, you could have snorted 2 grams of cocaine by the time you got to that 1.5 grams. It's not something you would have hit. You would not have hidden your drugs there. Well, the cops believed him. They let him go. Can you even imagine getting caught with 1.5 grams of cocaine and being let go? So I'm thinking, if that happened to me right now, I'd get taken to jail, and I can assume I'd be released pretty quickly. I'd be like, let me piss in a cup. I don't have any drugs on me. But they let him go at the scene. Driving home, Mike's thinking about all these weird things that have been happening. And he says to her, hey, you were the only person that knew where we went last night. Did you call the cops on me? What does Dalia do? You know, Dalia, the stable chick that she is. She gets the car up to about 100 miles an hour and starts screaming and freaking out. So because Mike does not want to die, he apologizes. And she slows down. I was on the back of a motorcycle one time, hauling ass. And I leaned over and I looked at the speedometer and it said 135. I wanted to vomit. I regretted looking at the speedometer. I did not have the fun on the rest of the ride that I had up until that point. When we stopped, I was like, Evan, what the hell are you going so fast for? He's like, I only went up to 140. What fat? I kept it low for you. Oh my goodness, Evan. Evan had a penis ring. I was never intimate with Evan. He was a friend of mine. I knew he had this, and I said, I would like to see it. So he showed it to me, and it went up and around the whole little head thing, you know. And then he had a couple of rings in his testicles and some bars in his taint. Here's something. Evan was a stud. Really, really good-looking guy. Probably a little bit granola, some tattoos, but tattoos you could cover all up. But the piercing is really weird. The penis piercing, he said it made his sex intense. Okay, good for him. I'm glad. So, 100 miles an hour. He apologizes. They wake up the next morning. You ready for this? Dalia's pregnant. Wow. Oh my goodness. She's pregnant. He's thrilled. He's 40 years old. He's had no children. Yay! Everything is forgotten. Meanwhile, Mike owes $191,000 in restitution in order to even consider being off of parole. And Dalia has gone to Mike and said, I think it's really bad that this is happening to you. So if you come up with 100 grand, I'll come up with the 91 grand. And we're a team. We'll get you out. So you get me that 100 grand, and then I'll bring the cashier's check to go to the attorney. What does Mike say? Okay. But now, you know, you can't just transfer 100 grand to someone or the IRS is notified, because any transactions over $10,000, the FDIC notifies the IRS. So Mike starts every week putting $7,000 in Dalia's bank account every week. Multiple times a week. It takes, I think, 5 weeks. He gets 4 weeks, gets his $100,000. Okay, now let's get the 191. We've got it. They go to the attorney. She's got a cashier's check for $191,000. It's back and forth, back and forth. They're playing games. They're leaving the room. The attorney checks, says, yes, it's real. Things are happening. All of a sudden, Dalia's like, we're going to go. You take care of this. Mike has handed the check, right? The $191,000 check. Have a good day. Shakes the lawyer's hand and he walks out. Dalia's long gone. Seconds later, the attorney's running. Hey, Mike. This cashier's check is for $191. She scammed it. She switched him out. In all the mayhem that she caused, she switched him out. She had a friend give her a genuine cashier's check for $191,000 because we all have friends like that, right? I just let Leanne, hey Leanne, I need $191,000 just for about 15 minutes and you can have it right back. Really? God. Okay, so she's pregnant though, right? So this all happens. She hems and haws Mike for about 2 weeks and then finally says, I got scammed. I thought I could use a bank in the Cayman Islands and you get cheaper wire fees because wire fees, that 0.4% is really expensive. And they ended up taking the whole $191,000. Mike believed her. Can you believe that? I want to have seconds of quiet right now so you can sit here and comprehend that. He believed her. He believed her. She says, I'm going to fix it, though. Worry not. I'm selling houses. It's all good. So now they need to find a different way for Mike to get off probation, at least before he can get the money paid. Because Mike's father is dying. The drug addict dad in Philly who didn't ever give a shit. But Mike wants to go up and say goodbye. I get that. I respect that. So Mike could get this thing called administration probation. No, I've never heard of it. Have you? Probably not. Because it's not real. Dalia had another dude who she would bang call Mike, pretend to be an attorney, and say, we can get you administrative probation. But in order to get this, you can't have any assets in your name. So you have to put your house in Dalia's name. What does Mike do? The man who has now lost $191,000. She told him she got scammed. He said multiple times the cops have been called. His probation officer is now, after 8 years, all of a sudden showing up all the time. Showed up, I think, 24 times over 7 months. All this. What does Mike do? He signs his house over to her. Damn, that pussy must have been really, really good. That's what I said to Brian Winchester, the dude in Florida, Mike Williams, Denise Williams. Brian and I, we wrote. My first letter, I said, hey, Mike, that pussy was really fucking good, wasn't it? And he wrote me back and said, you got me with that first line. He put his house that he paid $232,000 cash in, put it in her name. So they're done. They've signed the quit claim. And as they're walking out the door, the attorney says, so I don't really get why you did this, because in Florida, their marital assets are joint. And the only way that this is really yours, Dalia, is if Mike is dead. So what happens? So if I were a computer savvy right now, I'd put a little light bulb right here. Ding! A little cartoon light bulb. A couple lines. My husband has to be dead? Okay. The very next day, she goes to another dude. You see my ring light? That she's banging. Muhammad, who on a side note is dead now. But Muhammad was 12 or 13 years older than she was. He owned multiple check cashing convenience stores. the 7-Eleven that you can also cash a check in. And he was very successful. And I mean, he owned 10 or 15 of these. So because of that, he had, 1 foot in the criminal world, because have you ever gone to a check cashing store to cash a check? I never have in my whole life, 51 years. Never. So I'm going to say that it's not your Norman Rockwell family who is doing business at check cashing stores. So Muhammad had, he was aware of the criminal realm. Dalia reaches out to Muhammad. She hasn't spoken to him for a while now. Been a little bit. It's another one of those, hey, I miss you, baby, you want to fuck text. And she tells him, my husband's abusive. I have to get rid of him. He keeps money from me, everything. And there happens to be a gang right there. And she goes over to the gang and says, I want my husband shot and killed. I'll be real quick about this. Because after the whole thing went down, that gang went back to Muhammad with the newspaper, threw it on his cash register, and said, you're a snitch. Fuck you. Crooks don't like snitches. So Muhammad, from what I just read a book about the case, the police think he may have been game. Okay, if you can get it done, I'm okay to enjoy the spoils of your riches that you're going to get after this happens. But then once she started getting asking him more questions and involving him a little bit more, again, light bulb on Muhammad, I'm not going down for a murder. So Muhammad calls the police. The police put a recording in his car, tape, everything. And Muhammad is sitting there, knowing she's being recorded, really saying, are you sure this is what you want to do? And she's that stupid, yes. So I'll fast forward. He hooks her up with a undercover cop. She goes and meets him. You all have all seen the video. If I were savvy, I'd put the clip right now where she looks into the camera. You're the camera. I'm 5,000% sure. Her big old fake titties. When she met Mike on the first date where he paid her $300 to get dirty with her, she had B cups like me. She got breast implants about 4 weeks after they got together, and she paid for them herself. Mike says that. So the police could have arrested her right that moment, but they want to have a little bit more evidence, and just by coincidence, and it really, really was coincidence, Cops was filming in Boynton Beach that month. So they said, let's just play this all the way out. Okay, so you've seen the video. So they set the crime scene up at her house. She leaves to go to the gym. She works it out with the murderer. I'll go to the gym. She leaves, she goes to the gym. As soon as she's gone, they knock on Mike's door. See, the dogs don't react because we're outside. There's Oscar right there. Say hi, Oscar. Hey, baby. Mike, your wife's putting a hit on you. Come on, we got to get you out. They set up the crime scene, tape everything. They call her. She comes back. You know that cop? Oh, he's pretty hot. Detective Ramsey. Beef, nice, muscular. Tells her that her husband's been killed. She does cry before he says the word killed. If you slow it down, her first comes out before the K. But on a side note, aren't you impressed with her acting? I'm serious. She did a good job. Her hands are even shaking. I thought she did a very, very, very good job. Yes. If you watch that video, at one point, one of the cops has to turn around because he's laughing. And he just has to let it go. You know, you're trying to hold your laugh in. That's what he does. They take her to the police station. They don't fuck with her very long. I think it's really only 15 minutes or so. And then that other cop comes back in. He's like, the game's over. I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I always want to teach a lesson in some of this shit I say. If you take responsibility, life is easier. Okay, so At that moment, she says nothing about a reality show. And you say, Meredith, why are you bringing up a reality show? Well, I'll tell you in a minute. But she says, I don't know. I just want to see my husband. Oh, they show her, Mike, you're alive. They bring in the murderer in handcuffs, the undercover cop. Nope, never seen him before. I have no idea what you're talking about. This is a girl, 28 years old, who has never had an official job, who knows if she ever filed taxes. But she has used her pussy and her looks, which I don't get, because she's not pretty. I don't find her very attractive. To get everything she's wanted in her life. I'm sure she knows when to play dumb. There's times you play dumb. It's all worked for her. It's not working this time. They take her away. The prosecutor from day one says, no plea deal. If you would like to plead guilty and beg the court for mercy, that's cool. But we absolutely will not give you a plea deal. So she goes to trial. What's her defense in trial? Mike wanted to be famous and be on a reality show, so we staged this whole thing for that. What? What? To me, that's not even a good defense. She goes to trial. She's found guilty. The jury took 3 hours. Nothing. She ends up appealing. Her whole conviction is thrown out on appeal. She's released on a $250,000 bond, house arrest, where she really does have to be at home. Not like the whore in West Virginia, Shelley Michael, who didn't care about her house arrest rules. House arrest, $250,000 bond, 6 years. New trial. Exact same outcome. Guilty. I think the jury took a little bit less time that time. So, the judge is giving her sentencing. And it's a great video. If I remember, I'll link it below. And he talks about, people say, I'm saying I'm sorry doesn't mean anything. Well, he says, I disagree. You have showed no remorse. I have a sentencing guideline of 48 months. For those of you from Rio Linda, that's 4 years. To 30 years. With her scores, you get scores on things you've done in your past. She has no points except for this actual crime. So she is eligible to be sentenced to 4 years. But she hasn't even said, I'm sorry. The judge brings up, are you ready for this? The night she's arrested, of course you get phone calls from the jail. She calls Mike. Mike, help me. Get me out. Can you imagine having balls that big to call the dude you'd put a hit on? But she also called her mother that night. And, Mom, I didn't do it. And get Mike out of my house. He's in my house. And her mother even has enough sense to say, Dalia, that does not matter right now. Accents are my thing, you can tell. The judge even brings that up. He says, you even say to your mother, get him out of my house. The woman is a professional gaslighter. That's professional gaslighter. Okay. So the judge really hooks her up. He sentences her to 20 years. He makes a point of telling her she had been eligible for only 4 years, but she didn't show any remorse. My opinion, well, this whole damn thing's my opinion. Had she, from the get-go, been like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what I was doing, she'd have gotten 4 years. And with the time she had served, she'd have been Casey Anthony. She would have served another couple months and been out and done. But he sentenced her to 20 years, but he gave her credit for all her time served. Well, she was home on house arrest, that $250,000 bail thing, for 6 freaking years. So long that she got pregnant and had a kid. All right. Well, now she's going to get out in 2032. She'll be 50. I didn't do the math. Her kid will be in his or her early 20s. Curious, if it's a daughter, I'd like to see what the daughter looks like. I don't think Dalia just got hit with the ugly stick. She got hit with the whole damn tree. Goodness. Okay. If you're still watching right now, You know what I have to say? I am shocked. Thank you very much. Hit like, hit subscribe, and please, God bless America.